All right.
I can organise a cheap shot for you after the show if you like.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I can organise a cheap shot for after the show if you like.
A preview.
She said there's more to that story. The story was, of course...
Not much more.
Now, what did the photo go for?
I think it would end up going for about 36,000 or something like that.
It was for charity.
It was for charity, by the way.
It wasn't for my own.
We didn't have to be sharing a hotel room.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I mean, I would love to, but I mean...
Very good. It was a bit like that, wasn't it?
They didn't have a wide angle
I'd
lens.
love to pay money to charity to see you men naked, but...
You know what? The particular show she's talking about was a thing called the Full Monty that we did for charity. And, you know, I was...
The Children's Hospital too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was so nervous. It was so bad. And then, you know, they say, it'll be fine on the night, it'll be fine on the night. I walk out, and Nichole's sitting in front of me. It was just like, oh my God, you know, overexposure of an undeveloped area.
You were nervous. You were nervous. I was about 14 kilos heavier than I am now, and I'm there with Bob Ellis, who is about the same weight. But the only guys who reneged was Georgie Negus, who waited till the lights went out.
To do the Full Monty. This was.
Yeah.
They did tell us, they said to us, they said, look, it's going to be fine. You know, you do the big reveal at the end, you know, bang, flash pots, lights go out. Of course, big reveal at the end, no flash pots, house lights come on. I'm sort of standing at the end of the stage going, oh my God. You know? And I jumped off and I walked back to the dressing room in my boots. And I walked back to the dressing room, which was about 100 yards away, and people are running up going, that was terrific. I'm going, don't talk to me now. I'm naked, I can't speak to you.
Have a look at a clip from that film. We'll just remind you, have a look. There's a shot of Nichole in this too.
Oh, good. What would you not do for charity?
Man,
So what? You're a cheapskate. What did you quit at $30,000? You're going to have to...
No, I then decided I'd be too embarrassed.
To own it.
No, listen. And you know
Be
what?
like in the...
I got to the dressing room, I was downstairs and dressed, coming back up the stairs by the time the rest of the guys were coming down. You know, I was leaving, and I was halfway up the stairs, said, you've got to go down and take this photograph. So I had to go down and take my clothes off again. I was like,
Who ended up getting it?
it was forget the lady's name, she's from Double Bay. It was a really great thing. But you know what? You know, it was like one of those things where they had TV crews, camera crews everywhere, and they couldn't find one photo of me.
So one of you?
You know, everywhere. I was perfectly, you know, see a camera, I could spot out my way.
I did a film for a current affair when you first started training it, when you first started rehearsing.
Sorry.
I'm just going to go right ahead.
Sorry.
Just keep moving forward, Ray.
We did a film for current affair when you first started rehearsing. Now, you were very reluctant. You were very coy, Jimmy, at that stage.
Yeah, well, listen, I have enough trouble, you know, standing around naked at the best of times. Never mind trying to dance naked. You know, it's like playing golf naked. It messes up your swing, you know. It's not a good look, you know. Jack, on the other hand, Jack arrived at rehearsals naked.
Jack, it's not the first time you've dropped your backs.
No, an old hand, you know. Once you've done the centerfold for Cleo, it's all old hat, really.
Excuse the pun, but that was a big thing at the time, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
30 years ago, yeah.
It was indeed. 30 years ago, it was a big thing.
Well, it was a big issue. It was a big issue, Jack.
Clarify that a bit.
No, it was a Cleo centerfold, for those old who can't remember.
You're a braver man than me, Jack.
The first ever naked bloke in a Cleo magazine was Jack, and he was stretched out with a drawing pen. Or
Took
rather
him 3 weeks to get the staples out.
A staple
like
in
Cleo
the
magazine
Cleo
magazine
now. Yeah, and
they had male centerfolds?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the first male centerfold. Because some of the people are still alive, I won't mention the names of the people they approached before I said yes. They declined. Never mind.
Now, Jack, you did put your hand over it, though, didn't you?
That wasn't his hand.
I did put it. Thank you. I did put my hand over it, and I insisted it would be me placed in an old classical nude painting because I wanted to make the statement that it's ever been done. And all of my friends said, "How come you got 6 fingers?"
Is that what they said?
I noticed his eyes followed you wherever you went in the photo as well.
You must have been looking.
No, I wasn't.
Where was it?
I never seen it. I never seen it. I tell you, Jack. Just a good thing. Lucky we're old friends because.
So the Blue Room, you stripped for the Blue Room.
Oh, all right, come
thanks
on,
very
let's
much.
get on to something a bit.
let's superimpose
We didn't
images.
get-
No, you don't have that. No. But was that that was only for a split
You're
second too?
joking, aren't you? Come on, move off this. Let's talk about politics.
No, listen. I think. Can I just say? I think for the full Monty, we actually tried to get Ray.
Tried to get Ray?
Yes, and he backed down.
No, I was never asked.
I think he was out of town that day.
I was never asked.
No, I think you were.
Okay, let's deal
I'm
with
sure
it.
I suggested
let's deal
you.
with it as nudity, and if you think that nudity is more obscene than the children whose lives we were helping by raising that money, then I think that's.
But it depends unless you're in the audience.
None of the people involved, and none of the people involved in nudity in a scene in film, are doing it purely for its titillation value.
I was.
I love that.
Jack was.
I was.
Jimmy was.
Only because Nichole was there.
I encourage you to do that.
I know you did. And I thought I
Get
just.
up there and do it, Jimmy.
I need someone to hang my hat.
Now, Jack, tell us about Star Wars. This role you've got in Star Wars.
Star Wars. I'm practically not allowed to tell you anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all secrecy. There you go. Great question.
Me, your dad.
I'm
your father, Jack.
The one thing I love is that one of the wonderful Scots women in wardrobe said to me.
I was a man.
Scots women are men?
He was wearing a kilt.
He's an Englishman. She said, that thing, your name is wonderful. She said, at least it doesn't sound like a Vietnamese entree, like that Darth Maul. I think I'll have that. Darth Maul is good, isn't it? Vietnamese entree. Yeah, it's like that.
Sounds like a sort of, a hooker from Bendigo.
But on the website, I'm listed as a humble farmer. I'm a moisture farmer. Have you thought about that? A moisture farmer?
Do
you have a dog that's a drip that rounds
I'm
up
not going there.
all the little drips? You're not?
Better talk that way because I'm thinking.
So this is a moisture. This is in Star Wars. I'm going to translate. This is in Star Wars, and Jack's a moisture farmer. Who's that name? The name that you said was a tie. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't tell us the story. Do you know the story?
No, I can't.
Is it unknown?
I don't really know the whole story because the people who work in it are handed pieces of the script, except the central lead
script
character.
But you took your son along.
I did. It was a wonderful experience for him. For Billy, you can imagine being there on a Star Wars set. I have this wonderful home footage. We were allowed to shoot home footage. There was no sense of censorship in that area. And Billy walked around with George Lucas, and we had this shot of him looking. There are two monitors, and George is looking in this monitor, Billy's looking in the other, and he moves over and moves Billy out of the way and looks through this. And he would never ask to have him removed from the set.
How old is Billy?
Billy is now 12, and this was one of the great experiences of his life. And I know that later in his life, he will know he was there working with this man who was so generous. It was fantastic.
That was in Tunisia?
Yeah, it was in Tunisia.
Okay.
And it was a kind of a sentimental journey for George. He went back to the original location of the first Star Wars, where there is that moisture farm, and that's where the surrogate parents are killed and so on. But he went back there, and because it's desert and totally untouched, it was still there.
Yes.
All they had to do was do it up.
Get some moisture.
Yeah, it was great. Get some moisture.
But how about for you? I mean, you've been in
Which brings us to the love interest.
all the classic Aussie films. Was Billy more impressed by Star Wars?
Of course he was. Of course he was. He's barely seen most of the others, but my dad's in Star Wars, and people say, "Oh yeah, who is he?" And he was able to tell them, and he's been there. But when I appreciate that. When I first met George, I said, "Thank you for keeping the romantic epic alive in film." It doesn't exist anywhere else. You can't think of anything else like that in major feature film, and it's there. It's the Arthurian tale, and my son's involved in that, like a lot of other kids.
Yeah. You've got your first film coming out, Billy. I mentioned Jimmy.
Billy, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Billy,
you mind if I call you Frank?
Yeah, please. I will be Frank. I will be.
Billy will like that.
No, I'm taller than Billy. Yeah, they asked me to do a part in a movie called Foolproof, which is sort of a Sydney gangster movie, sort of Quentin Tarantino, Guy Ritchie sort of thing. it was funny because they, you know, when they asked me to do it, I've been asked to do lots of films, but they always asked me to play a bloody rock and roll singer, you know, post-Holocaust.
I wonder why.
What they try to tell me. I think there's a message in there somewhere. But this one came along, and it was a really funny script, and it was sort of, the part wasn't sort of too, you know, far away from, you know what I am. They asked me to play an aggressive Scotsman. I said I have to tone myself down a bit. I'll see if I can do it.
Not a rock and roller.
No. So I'm an aggressive Scotsman gangster, you know. So which is good. And I went and did they did a you know, a bit of a preview thing, and they shot it. And I could see the sort of, you know, they were all terrified. All the actors around, you know, and I'm sort of doing my first take, like, you know, and all the actors going, he'll be fine. You'll be okay, Jim. We're with you. Oh, great, you know. And I sit there, and I did it first take, and I could see the director go, oh, that was really good, you know, to the cameraman. That'll do, thank you very much. And I thought, phew. So I know it's got to get more difficult from there, but, you know, it's just a great sort of medium to be involved in, you know. For me, it's just it's one of those things where, you know, what I do is about communication, and the more I can learn about that, the better, you know.
Work for Bing Crosby, why not you?
Yeah, but listen. I don't know where to go with that.
No advice? You're looking for advice?
I need advice from these two. Actually, I went and seen Nichole's movie the other night, the premiere. It was fantastic. Yeah.
How scary is that?
It was really scary. I had to leave 3/4 of the way through. Serious, I'm sorry to say, because my wife was too scared.
Really?
Yes. Is that true? It's because I think it's because I kept looking for you. I know, and I've got to tell you a funny story. You know, did the little guy Nick with the flowers?
Yeah,
when you arrived,
yeah.
I got there just before you, and I said to Nick, and I think he reneged. I went up to him and I said, Nick, who are these flowers for? He said, they're for Nichole. I said, well, when you give them to her and you give her a kiss, could you please, you know, give her a kiss, and then when you lean back forward and give her another one, say Jimmy sent it. But I think he reneged.
Nick he wanted to come tonight. I think Nick was over.
Did you pass my message?
He can't hear you.
Oh, no.
There he is. So he gave the flowers.
Yeah, I think he just said it, yeah.
Fantastic.
It was great. I tried to sort of sneak my way in for the next movie, you know.
But how about that? I mean, it's so scary.
No, serious, because I had to get up because my wife was just screaming so much, and she kept grabbing everybody's knees. You know?
Not yours.
But the ending's the best part
so
of
I was
the
trying to
Yeah.
you know, Ian
That's
Thorpe
right.
was sitting
They
next to
didn't
her.
see
You
it.
missed the best part. The ending is the best part.
I know. I've got to go back and watch it again.
The ending
I'm
is-
waiting for another invite.
Can't tell you what it is.
No, we can't tell anything about it.
No,
Have to
I won't
shoot
say
you.
a word, but it was really great. I thought Nichole was exceptional and yeah, beautiful as usual, and it was, you know, it was really good. No, really good.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm serious. I had to leave because my wife was so scared. So that's a good. You know,
It's scary. I
indication.
told you, serious. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about living in Australia, the price of fame. Just a moment. It's about coming back to Australia. You want your children to be raised here.
What are they?
No, I can't tell you now.
What is it? What draws you back? What's the thing that you keep talking about? This Australianness. It is the beach. It's the relaxed. What is it about Australia?
I think for me it's been. It's where I grew up. It's my childhood. So every single part of Australia. So that means, I mean, I went to Tassie as a kid. You know, is the trees, is the humour, I mean, there's so much about Australia that's so unique. And it's also the distance from the rest of the world, which when you're a teenager, you go, oh, I want to see Europe, I want to see America, I want to get out there, I want to see it. Well, now I'm saying, I've seen it, I want to go home.
Yeah, I want to stay here.
Yeah, because it really is, there's everything here that you need.
Jimmy, you've just come back from the wheat country. Tell me quickly that story.
Yeah, we just did a gig out in a place in West Australia where they've actually just sort of saved old rainforests, isn't it? But you know, the forests. We just did a gig out there. I think the thing that people love about Australia are Australians, and we have this great attitude, which is she'll be right, mate. Everything's going to be cool, and we're really cool. But the thing is, when it comes down to stuff like Jack's talking about, you can't really sort of have that attitude. You know, it's not an election issue because it's not. You know, it's not going to put food. Well, eventually it will, but it's not going to put food on your plate. It's not going to feed your kids or educate your kids. And so the politicians go for the things that are immediately freaking people out. The thing is, the environment's not a big issue for politics. It's a big issue for life. And people have to realise that, I think, more than anything. It's it's a bit of a sort of contradiction in terms, really, politics and environmental saving at the same time.
But
actually, our gig the other night was really cold, and it was that cold I seen a politician with his hands in his own pockets.
Boom, boom. But quickly, a community of 23 people, and you finished up with 3,000.
Yeah, well, this guy put on this, Pete McDonald, put on this gig in a pub called Doodlakane, which is out 300 kilometres out, right in the wheat belt of Western Australia. 23 people live there, and I think most of them have moved since. But but they had 3,500 people, and it sort of served for the whole wheat belt. We had people coming in, looked like planes, helicopters, all that sort of stuff. It was a great gig. It was like playing a big 21st.
3,000 people.
Yeah, I had a ball. I went on.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to let you
Well,
work out the tonsils so you can sing
Thank you
for
very
us.
much.
You're going to sing for us. We'll
Yes,
take a break,
I'll take it.
and we'll come back after the break. The Hit to Be Sad.